Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm going to ask everyone to please mute yourselves as you join. Please note this hearing is being recorded. This is a hearing before the Licensing Board for the City of Boston. Today is Wednesday, May 13th, 2020, and I'll introduce Kathleen Joyce, who's the chair of the board.
For our virtual hearing before the Licensing Board, I'm joined today by Commissioner Liam Curran and Commissioner Kiana Saxon, and our Executive Secretary Leslie Delaney Hawkins will proceed with the agenda.
Some housekeeping matters. This hearing is being recorded. It is being conducted based on the governor's emergency legislation, which allows for virtual hearings. This hearing will be posted to the Licensing Board's website within 24 hours and will remain accessible via the website. The board will vote on the matters heard today, tomorrow during its voting meeting. That hearing will also be accessible via Zoom and will be recorded and posted, although there is no testimony to be taken during the board's voting hearing. As a procedural matter, I will, just as in a typical in-person hearing, I will call each agenda item. I will ask anyone who is presenting to please state your name and why you are before the board. The chair will ask you to make your presentation, after which if there are any questions from the board, they will ask those. At that point, we will be asking for testimony in support of each petition and in opposition of each petition. On each side, the first testimony that will be taken is that of elected officials or their representatives, and then any individuals who also wish to testify. I have received a number of individuals who've emailed the board asking to testify. So those individuals will be called in the order that they reached out to the board to request to testify. And then there will be time for anyone else who had not had the opportunity to reach out to the board to testify as well. Please note that the board does not give any more weight to virtual in-person testimony than it does written testimony. And all testimony that has been submitted previously or today to the board for consideration on any of these petitions will be considered as part of the record. And with that, calling Northeast Foods LLC, doing business as Burger King, number 25747, located at 892 River Street, has applied for a common vitular license to be exercised on the above 5 rooms. Kitchen is located in the back of building, no basement. Manager Shokat Dunani, hours of operation 6 a.m. to midnight. And is there anyone here who is presenting for the Burger King application?
I'm Zohaib Danani, presenting for the Burger King application.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm also presenting on behalf of the Burger King, on behalf of the developer, Fenard Properties. I'm Todd Fenard.
Okay. Mr. Danani, would you like to begin and tell us what you're proposing? Or Mr. Fenard, I don't know how your presentation is, but feel free to begin.
Sure. So given that this is a hearing on suitability and the operator, I think, Zoe, you should tell a little bit about yourself and sort of the operation here. And when you're done, I just want to make a couple quick remarks about sort of what has led us to this and sort of what process we've gone through. But why don't you start, Zoe?
Okay,
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Northeast Foods is a subsidiary of Danani Group, Inc. Danani Group, Inc. holds 850 fast food restaurants across the country. Northeast Foods, the subsidiary, holds 100 Burger Kings in the New England area between Massachusetts, Connecticut, and New Hampshire. We've been in the Burger King business since 1993 and have been in the New England market since 2012. Currently, we are the second largest operator for the Burger King brand and are, out of all the largest operators in the Burger King brand, we are ranked the second highest in operation metrics.
Great. So thank you for laying that out. And I appreciate the licensing board hearing us, albeit virtually. I just want to quickly run through as the developer working with Zoe the process that we've been through. And it goes back over 3 years ago when we met with East River Street Neighborhood Group, who was designated as our impact advisory group through our original process way back in 2007. We met with East River Street in July of 2016, actually March of 16 and then July of 2016 when we brought Zoe before them. And we had a meeting with Zoe and the neighborhood group, and followed up with another presentation in January of 2017. Also in January of 2017, City Councilor Tim McCarthy issued his approval to the East River Street group, and it was from Walter Applewhite at the time. We ended up getting neighborhood services approval from Dave McNulty through Dave McNulty in January of 2017, so that in February of 2017, the East River Street group issued a letter, which is was part of our permitting application. And so we ultimately, and later in 17, we signed a lease. We went through the BPDA process. We pulled the building permit ISD issued a construction permit in December of 2018. During 2019, the Burger King was built. And when it got to the end of the year, beginning of 2020, the Bell Mill Village Family Association raised their hand and said, wait a minute, we didn't know what this was. You didn't talk to us. There were members of Bell Mill Village Association at the East River Street meeting, but apparently that wasn't enough. And it created a bit of a firestorm in terms of this process. And we hosted a series of community events with the neighborhood, so to speak. We offered in February, in the midst of the beginning of this COVID crisis, to do one of these, a virtual Zoom meeting, to continue the conversation. My point of my story is this goes back years. We followed the process to the letter of the law. And despite all of that, we got mired in the politics of what I believe is sort of a neighborhood not exactly sure of how the neighborhood should speak in one voice. We dealt with the East River Street group. Barbara Hamilton has sort of put us through our paces over the years, and it's been a great process. And I'm glad that we're finally here with a phenomenal operator who's looking to open a restaurant with all of the sort of the complementary things: jobs, revenue, another safe place for people to eat. And so I just wanted to lay that out for the licensing board and make sure that that was heard as part of the process. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Fennard. I just want to clarify I might have an old hearing list, but the hours of operation are 6 a.m. to 12 midnight, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And how many seats would how many seats would be inside this location?
50 seats.
50 seats. Okay, Leslie, would you like to start with the testimony and support?
Certainly. Are there any individuals who wish to testify in support of this application? I'm starting with any individuals from either the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services or other elected officials or their representatives. And please state your name for the record.
Yes, good morning, Chair and members of the board. This is Brian Flynn. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know if my iPhone 8 was getting it done or not, but thank you. I just wanted to say I'm from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services representing Hyde Park. We do want to go on record in support of this proposal. After multiple meetings, we want to revisit it again, just because, as the developer stated, this did date back to 2007. So there, we felt there was an adequate process, years back. However, the Office of Neighborhood Services also wanted to revisit it a while back, as we want to ensure an adequate process and make sure that every community member felt like their voice was heard. We felt like we did do that appropriately. We had a couple of different meetings held with East River and Bell Mill Civic Association, which the duration was about 3 hours for each one. So we really did kind of try to be as thorough as possible. But just with everything being said, we do want to show our support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who is speaking in support of this application? All right, and moving to any individuals in opposition. And again, we will begin with anyone from an elected official's office. I do believe that we received correspondence from Henry Cohen from Councilor Arroyo's office. If Henry.
Yes, that is me. Sorry, I go by Hank, and I think that's how I show up on Zoom. Madam Chair, member of the board, Hank Cohen from the Office of City Councilor Ricardo Arroyo, representing District 5. We would like to go on record requesting a suspension or deferral for further discussion for this project as requested by the Bell-Nell Civic Association and other community groups.
Is there anyone else from an elected official's office? Dave Vittorini, not to put you on the spot, but you're popping up. Would you like to testify?
Sure. Dave Vittorini on behalf of City Councilor at Large Michelle Wu. We were planning on going on record in opposition, but since Councilor Arroyo's office asked for a deferral, we would probably go along the lines with a deferral if that was the case.
Hello, my name is Jessica. I'm from Councilor Nisa Saibi George's office, and we're basically agreeing with Arroyo's office and Councilor Wu's office. So we'll go along with the request of a deferral as well.
Any other individuals representing an elected official? Okay, I will now move and call the individuals who reached out to testify. I'm calling, and I apologize if I do not pronounce your name. When I call you, please confirm you are here, and please also state your address for the record. Helena Tonge?
Tong. Yes, good morning, Madam Chair. My name is Helena Tong, and I'm Friendship Road in Hyde Park, Massachusetts. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. My name is Helena, and I am president of Bell-Nell Family Neighborhood Association. And I would like to point out a few pieces and speak to what has been spoken to. Our association, via your licensure hearing notification on January 11th from community members and neighbors, learned of the establishment at 892 River Street would actually be a Burger King. Although neighbors had been passing by the development, had seen it being developed out looking in the form of a restaurant, there was no visual signage indicating, quote, coming soon as to what it would be. Your January 11th email electronic notification is what brought it to the attention. I received those communications, telephone calls from the community, and therefore I reached out to other neighborhood association leaders to kind of find out what they were hearing from their members, and therefore things kind of proceeded forward from there. Because we had such a short window, and the licensure hearing was initially on January 15th, we had requested that we have a deferral so that we can get some more information on why the community, especially I would actually say within 1 mile of the surrounding plaza, is not well understood that that was going to be a Burger King. So with that process began visiting East River Street Neighborhood Association meeting and trying to get all the details of what was the before and during up to this process on January 15th. We had initially scheduled a March 19th meeting, and of course, due to COVID, that had been canceled. And in addition to that, Mr. Fennard wanted to have a meeting prior to that. We agreed to that meeting. We had that meeting on February 6th, but we needed to still have a larger conversation where we could reach out to a larger swath of the community to make sure that we were not repeating what had already been done, which is making sure that as many community members, at least within 2 miles, were aware that this meeting would be taking place. The February 6th meeting was a very spirited meeting. Neighbors attended that meeting and they were not happy. I understand, and I have been hearing throughout the course of the process, that it's, we're hearing the details about the process. And what neighbors have been speaking to is not only the process, which Mr. Flynn from the Office of Neighborhood Services had given detail that his office pretty much dropped the ball on the process of getting that information out to a larger swath of the community. And we say that because the marketing for this establishment of a Burger King has been marketed out for 2 miles at 95,000 patrons. So we have over 33,000 residents of Hyde Park. And I think it's really important to understand that where the conversations were situated and taken place, the average attendance of that association is about 20 people per meeting. And the other piece I'd like to bring to the table about that is the understanding that while this association does not meet every month, no business nor entity does things the exact same way. But I think it needs to be very clear that many of these associations, of and including my association, has been in existence for 10 plus years. I know for a fact that our association has been around since the 1970s. So for the office of the mayor's office to indicate, there was a hiccup there in getting that information out does not give responsibility to the community, and it does not allow us to move forward and concretely approve of this project, this development. And more importantly, as many of the neighbors have screamed loud and clear, is that this establishment is directly across the street from 700 students, and it's in the area of of 6 schools, totaling a student population last year of 3,500 students, predominantly students that take public transportation because we have a mixture of BPS schools and charter schools. So the other piece that we wanted to look at was the social justice issues in and around this piece. We wanted to get a better understanding as to how this, when we look at all the fast food establishments that are within 1 mile, actually, to be perfectly honest, 1.45 miles of Riverwood Plaza. The list goes on and on and on. And even Mr. Donani owns the Burger King in Rosendale Square, which is 2.5 miles from Riverwood Plaza. So we haven't even gotten to those discussions, having a conversation with Mr. Donani in regards to the child labor laws that were a breach of those laws back in 2017 with 30 of his 43 facilities, BKs here in Massachusetts. We didn't get into vetting and questions around Mr. Fernand in regard to his bankruptcy for another plaza, similar like the one that's over in Riverwood Plaza. So in answer to Mr. Fernand's point of, I lost my train of thought. In answer to Mr. Fernand, I really lost my point of thought, so I'll move on from there. And also, I think what's really important to bring to the table, and then I will yield the floor, is that we are living in a climate of COVID. And as we all have been hearing across news outlets, is the backdrop of how health issues, pre-existing health issues are a great impact to what's taking place with those who are contacting COVID. So the idea of opening up a fast food establishment, which we can all agree, I think, that a fast food establishment does not promote healthy eating. And on top of within 5 surrounding schools in the midst of a community that's predominantly people of color. And we know that the numbers around COVID, for those that are contacting it or suffering greatly from it, are for communities of color. So with that being said, I will go ahead and yield the floor, but I know I did miss something, but I'm hoping that other members of the 5 additional neighborhood associations that have been working on this will bring it to the forefront. Thank you.
Okay, I just have a question. You said you did attend a meeting on February 6th?
Yes.
And how many people from your association were at that meeting?
We have well over 100 plus people in attendance. And that
Okay.
was a very short window to put that meeting
But
together.
they all weren't from our association. Let's
Right.
be clear. They were from various
Bill,
associations,
I don't know
not
who's
just
talking.
Bell.
Can't see who's talking.
I'm sorry, my camera's not working. My
Okay,
name
one
is
person at a
Sophia.
time. Let me just stay focused on Ms. Tong's testimony for a minute. I'll give you an opportunity to speak as well. You have outlined a number of things. I just wanted to find out about this February 6th meeting that was held in the community.
And I just want to add one other tidbit that, you know, the school directly across the street is adamantly opposed to this. The school, the match school is adamantly opposed to this.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I wanted to put that in there.
All right, Leslie, you can move on to the next person. We can't hear you.
I'm reminding people to mute themselves as I'm trying to unmute myself. So as a reminder, please mute yourself. Everyone will be given an opportunity to testify, so please do not speak over each other. Please wait. If you did not have the opportunity to sign up, that is fine, but we will take you in turn after we go through everyone else who has signed up, just so that we can keep this moving forward and that we have a proper record of everyone who's making what point. So calling now Gladys Frias. Please, again, state your name for the record and where you live, your address, please.
Ms. Frias, please unmute yourself. Or Leslie, maybe you can.
Okay, is that good?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you now.
Okay, my name is Gladys Frias, and I live at 80 Poyer Street in Hyde Park. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Sadhani. Good morning, Mr. Fernard. Good morning, Brian Flynn. Thank you all for coming. To God be the glory. Again, I live at 80 Poyer Street, and I've been a resident there for over 21 years. I raised my family here. I lived here all that time. I live close to two of the schools that the Burger King is closest to, the Boston Prep and the Boston Charter School. And I'm not too far from the local high school either. This proposed Burger King is smack in the middle of walking distance of all three schools. Here, we also have a McDonald's, we have a Papa Gino's, Domino's, Subway, several Chinese restaurants, several pizza joints, and yes, also two Burger Kings actually. One in West Roxbury and one on Cummings Highway. The community, we say enough is enough. You don't find this many fast food restaurants in neighboring communities like Rosendale Square, JP Center, or West Roxbury. As you will see from the written opposing statements submitted and the signed petitions and the testimonies you'll hear today, we vehemently oppose yet another fast food operating in our neighborhood. This is not in line with our children's health and well-being. Also, we do not want the children congregating in the Burger King when they should be in school or on their way home at the end of the day. This proposed Burger King is directly across the street from the Boston Prep Charter School, who also opposes Burger King. As a member of the Bellner Neighborhood Association, a resident, a mother, a volunteer, myself and the community oppose the opening of yet another fast food chain. It is not welcomed here. As such, we ask that you please not give them an operating license, and we thank you for your time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Calling Mukia Gomez.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
Okay. My name is Mukia Baker Gomez. I live at 9 Friendship Road in Hyde Park. I've been living at this address for over 45 years. I was also the former chair of the Belknap Family Neighborhood Association. When I first moved into this area, I was met by a number of community people that were very, very, very active in their neighborhood association. Shortly after I moved here, we had 2 factories in the area. We had the Perkett Box Company, and then we had Match Company, which was on River Street. Both of those manufacturing plants closed. And so the properties that they were on were sold. At no time, other than outside of the matchbook not the matchbook, the paper box company, were we informed about any development going on in this area? And I take real credence to what was referenced in terms of Belknap members being at an East River Street Neighborhood Association. First of all, I've been an active member of the Ward 18 Democratic Committee, and every single neighborhood association is listed within that outreach effort. That means that the city of Boston had access to information about the various associations that were located in and around this area. And the fact that the only one that they went to was East River is beyond anything I could comprehend as being a responsible government leader. Moreover, we are in a very high traffic area. When the math school was built, our neighborhood, along with the abutting neighborhoods, have problems with traffic flow in this area. We're still experiencing that. We're going to have even more traffic flow problems if and when the Burger King gets operational. I'm hoping it doesn't. We have to deal with a number of environmental impacts in our community that we haven't even been addressed at this point. And the fact that we're talking about a safe area, give me a break here. Has anybody looked at the crime reports that have occurred? Has anybody looked at the City of Boston's Public Health Commission report on the kinds of health problems we have in this area? This Burger King would be a deterrent, not a good factor at all. It would not lead to anything healthy for our neighborhood and our community. So I'm urging the licensing board to please do not give this Burger King a license. We don't need it, we don't want it, and we really want our children to be healthy. And I'm really going to be disappointed if this licensing board decides that the children's health is not more important than an entrepreneur. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Calling Tim Fitzgerald. Is Tim Fitzgerald present to testify?
You have to unmute yourself.
Oh, just one moment. There's Tim. Hi.
Unmute myself.
Oh,
there you go.
We can hear you now.
Good morning. How you doing? And I hope everybody's family is well and safe for everything that's going on out here today. My name is Tim Fitzgerald. Live at 25 Friendship Road. Been here for 7 years, going on 8 years. Vice President, Belknap Association. I work with the youth program. I'm part of Stopwatch Transit Police, helping the youth in the community. I do have a lot of concerns. One concern I have that Burger King made $2.5 billion. I did a research, $2.5 billion in African-American community. Also, my concern is we have 5 Burger King located near schools in the African-American community, which I know different races live in the community, but I really have an issue with this. Reason why I have a issue with this, working with Stopwatch program, Transit Police, we get a lot of phone calls when it comes to the youth going into Burger King restaurant, and it's disorganized between managers and the youth. And I understand that the establishment, that the manager in there, he had to do his job. But I do have a concern that when I was going into Burger King's, and I use the example, I went to the one on Columbia Road, tried to talk to the manager one time, was putting the youth out, but refused to give their money back when they was ordering their food. Now, I'm not saying what the youth in there doing was right, but I do have a concern that if someone come work in our community, which I don't want the Burger King here, they're not gonna have a relationship with the youth. Police gonna be called. It really gonna be a big problem. Once the police is called, our youth gonna be arrested. You know, we already know we had an issue at McDonald's with the youth, with the schools around us. So I really have a big issue with this. I'm here to say I do not want the Burger King, the health of our kids. And I just want to say this before I leave. I know when we have the meeting that came up that it was said that the parents need to raise their kids up and the parents need to stop their kids from going there. I want to say this. If you 12 and under, the parents is accountable for that. Can they go in there and order for the food for the kids? But 13 and over, when the kids going into Burger King, we know they're going in there and order this food, that's 2 for $2, stretch their money, and just not going to be healthy for them. Thank you very much for letting me share.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining.
Calling Jean-Claude Sinan.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and hoping that everyone is safe and secured. My name is Jean-Claude Sinan, a resident between Hyde Park, Rosendale, and Mattapan, which is where I'm at right now, 11 Rexford Street, for the past almost 40 years. I oppose this unfair establishment's opening in the community for several reasons. Number one, it's an insult to every person of color for decisions to be made by a minority when we are the majority. That's number one. And I'm going to bring to your attentions, between elected officials and their staff, I realize that you guys are mute when the people speak. I thought we were supposed to be a government for the people and by the people, and we are not. Moreover, we notice those who are seeking for getting into office, they come into this community, they pay attention to us totally. But once they get elected, guess what? They become immune thoroughly, and they don't want to hear anything that we have to say. And that times goes by, you guys are working for the constituents, not for yourself. Instead, you go into the pocket of others. So we don't need this. We don't want it. The licensing board should listen to the voice of the people and be our advocate, not our enemies. Thank you.
Thank
Hello.
you.
Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Just 1 minute. If you could mute yourself, we're taking everyone in turn.
Thank you.
Calling Marilyn Smith Quarco.
Yes. Thank you.
Could everybody else mute their phone who's not speaking or who already has? Thank you.
All right. Good morning. My name is Marilyn Smith Quarcu, Dr. Marilyn Smith Quarcu. I live at 15 Ruskindale Road in Hyde Park. I want to speak in support of the other community residents' comments. I speak from the perspective of a resident of Boston since birth, and now a proud Hyde Park resident since 1984. I live approximately 0.3 miles along the heavily trafficked thoroughfare that is now a major access route to Riverwood Plaza. I served as a former chair for the Tom and Nina Y and as a board member, a governing board member at our local Boston Public School, Boston Community Leadership Academy. I feel that I do have some sense of and perspective on what's happening in our community. I do appreciate the opportunity to provide this testimony to the licensing board. As I have noted, the city of Boston proudly boasts of being a world-class city and states its desire to be stronger and more inclusive. The city then charges the BPDA to engage communities, implement new solutions, and to partner for greater impact while tracking progress. This process with the Riverwood Plaza and Burger King has been protracted over a long period of time. And I will tell you that since the spring, I've been scratching my head, wondering why I didn't know anything about this until I saw a structure being built along River Street. I want to specifically address the lack of culturally responsive community engagement and inequity as reasons that lead to my opposition. I wholeheartedly reject the proposed operating hours. The Burger King, even on Cummins Highway, opens at 10:30 and closes at 8 p.m. The plaza's other occupants are also closed much earlier. We have no need for any eating establishment, period, but then to have it open until midnight, there are great opportunities to begin to criminalize more youth in our community. Not even just youth, since we know adults are criminalized as well in this country. While the developer may have met the current requirements to reach this stage in the process, as a resident, I believe the process brought us here today is sorely misaligned to the espoused vision of the city, and it did not reflect values associated with inclusive practices. I was subjected to, and my community as well, were subjected to biased, stereotypical views and expressions during that meeting in February. I know I felt enraged. My rage was actually commented on. But I think as a citizen, I have the right to be outraged when values are violated. That's the training I have as a doctorate education, as an educational leader, okay? There have been public acknowledgement that the inherent barriers in the BPDA process fail to take into account community voices and urgent community needs. I have read documents from several city councilors that address BPDA. We have read about problems with BPDA in the news as well. For me, the process lacks the broad transparency needed to reflect culturally competent and responsive practices in the 21st century in order to move appropriately to interface with a broader community that would be impacted by this development. Ms. Tong talked about the lack of outreach to our neighborhoods. We all access that plaza at some point. Why would the city only direct a developer to one small segment of a broader community that, again, is known to be actively engaged in our community?
That's right.
The reinforcement of the stereotypes about us are just outrageous. Why in the world would we want another Burger King within 1 mile of a Burger King and within 1.2 miles of a McDonald's? This never was and will never be our greatest need. The licensing of the Burger King at this time further exacerbates the inequitable distribution of diverse development projects that will enhance our community.
That's right.
So as you reach a decision, I ask that you assume oversight for shepherding values that build community and acknowledge the obvious conflicts with public health goals. It's already been mentioned. COVID-19 illnesses and death have placed a spotlight on what was already known to be systemic and structural racism, and that result in massive health disparities. This is not about parents parenting their children.
That's right.
This is about a community embracing
Excuse me,
all
Leslie,
of
could you
its members.
mute everybody else?
Yes,
If this license moves forward, the city will soon have to hold its head in shame.
Ms. Quarko, just
2
one.
BPAs and one, I'm going to finish, and one McDonald's within an approximate 2-mile radius of each other in a COVID and hopefully post-COVID environment is shameful. I believe it is never too late to take corrective action. I ask you to act on your values. It takes a village to maintain a village. We're committed to that up here in Hyde Park. And if not us, who? And if not now, when will we see a change in the way that things operate in our communities of color? Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to mute everyone just because we do have some background noise and we want to make sure that we're hearing everyone and that everyone's points are getting across. So I'm going to mute everyone. Please only unmute yourself if I'm calling on you to testify. Calling Valerie Almeida. Valerie, are you present? Just looking to make sure that I do not have a Valerie listed here. We will return back to Valerie in case she is able to join the call. Calling Lidam Nordi. Lidam Nordi.
Hello?
Thank you.
Can you all hear me? I'm getting the feedback, but I'll do my best. I'm connected via mobile phone. All right. So first of all, I want to thank the board for giving us the opportunity to speak and express our concern specific to the proposed Burger King. I'd like to first preface my remark by saying that we do not oppose the non-properties as a business. Let me be clear. Our opposition is specific to the proposed Burger King. This opposition is informed by scientific research and our collective lived experience. The health and environmental consequences of processed fast food chains in communities of color is incontestable. These consequences are long, they're complex, and often a painful one because there's no clear resolution and direction. the prevalence of chronic disease conditions afflicting our community is largely attributed to unhealthy dietary options in our environment. Regrettably, despite these serious ramifications on an already under-resourced community, the Phenom Properties and its partners are here to go forward with the project. That is unfortunate. Interestingly, this largely underserved neighborhood of Hyde Park is flagrantly overserved with fast food chains. Just for perspective, there are currently 7 well-known fast food chains, including BK, Burger King, Wendy's, Popeyes, and Dunkin' Donuts that is within 2-mile radius of this new location. Erecting a Burger King in front of a newly built charter school is not just a page out of a known playbook. It is insensitive, it's negligent, and it demonstrates a deliberate intent to expand and sustain the known chronic vices in communities of color. This is essentially a public health genocide against this community, I would admit. We are desperately in need of investment development that will unlock our social economic potential, but certainly not one that expands further the perils of the chronic conditions that we deal with day to day. And to echo the sentiments I shared previously, the ravaging effects of COVID-19 is felt far and near. But when you profile this closely, the effects on our community that is already vulnerable is even more devastating. But we're not surprised. Our concerns are usually ignored. No one listens to us with empathy. The seemingly intractable effects of fast food chains is not just a public health genocide that disproportionately target communities like our own. It is also a vagrant polluter of our environment, starting with packaging waste, food waste, increase in traffic density and noise. Air pollution will all be the conditions that we are condemned to if this project goes forward. The findings by the CDC that is also supported by the Boston Public Health Commissions concludes that our collective behavior is directly influenced by the environmental conditions we live in. Healthy environment inspires healthy lifestyles. But currently we're here because we feel helpless. We cannot fault Phenom Properties for ignoring us if our public officials are doing the same. Many have refrained that we are too late in the process. This is equivalent to saying that we don't care. And I hope that's not the case with the licensing board. So to conclude, while we may not have the resources and influence to match the strength of a developer like Phenom Properties, we nonetheless trust in the process here today and bring our concerns based on scientific evidence. And we resolve that another fast food chain does not add any value to the lives and livelihood of our community. So to this end, I'll re-echo the same partnership effort that we extended to Todd Fernard and ask that this process be suspended and allow us to convene a reevaluation exercise to explore options that will further enhance the lifestyle and the well-being of members of this community. So with that, I'll yield. Thank you.
Thank you. And I have, if anyone who has not yet gotten to testify, who does wish to testify, please, if you could send me a message via the chat function. We will also open it up for anyone who doesn't have access to that at the end so that I can call people in order. Genevieve Dusing. Is there a Genevieve Dusing?
Yes. Yep, Genevieve, yep. Hi, my name is Genevieve Dusing, and I work for Match Charter Public School, which is located at 100 Poydras Street in Hyde Park, right behind the Riverwood Plaza. And so I'm going to offer a testimony in opposition on behalf of our charter public school. So again, I'm submitting this formal opposition to the new proposed Burger King at 892 River Street, Hyde Park on behalf of Match Charter Public School, located at 100 Poydras Street. We are not in favor of introducing yet another unhealthy food operation in our neighborhood. We invest in healthy food for our students and encourage our students and their families to opt for healthy food options. It is well established that healthy food leads to healthier outcomes and better learning and development for students. We would much prefer an establishment that offers healthy food choices be introduced to the community. In addition, we are concerned that there have been no proposed plan that accounts for partnering with us to address any potential issues that we would encounter as a result of this new establishment. The surrounding community is opposed to the introduction of this establishment to the area for a wide variety of justifiable reasons. As an engaged community member, we stand behind the concerns voiced by others and hope that they are deeply considered by the licensing board. Thank you.
Thank you. Calling Barbara from the East River Street Neighborhood Association.
Hi, good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. My name is Barbara Hamilton. I'm with the president of the East River Street Neighborhood Association. I live at 827 River Street and have been a Hyde Park resident, actually my family for 5 generations in the same location. And so I'd like to speak, one, to the part of the process. We have a number of streets that we reach out to. We have many members that are currently living in Belknap Neighborhood Association in the Belknap community. We've had residents that live and are part of now the Ruskindale and Neighborhood Association. And many of the people who are part of those associations have always been attending our meetings. So we meet on a monthly basis, the second Monday of the month. And we've been doing that for over 25 years. And as the technology improves, we get to do outreach with many more people. In the past, I used to flyer Belknap just so they would know when we would be meeting. So we've been working with Todd Fernard since the very beginning of the process. Again, I've been living across from the former Bay State paper mill and saw it in its demise, I could say, and it was sitting dormant for probably about 15, 20 years. And so when the city approached us, I think Councilor, it may have started with Menino when he was a councilor, and on to, oh God, I hate to say, I'm forgetting his name.
Consalvo. Robert Consalvo.
Thank you. Don't tell him I forgot his name. We've been meeting with our city councilors, and then when Consalvo left and Tim McCarthy left and David Arini was attending our meetings on behalf of the councilor and Dave McNulty. So we've been in partnership with the city and working with the developer to bring some positive things to the community. When Price Right approached us, you know, when Todd brought Price Right, you know, we were in agreement with that because this area was a food desert. And so all of the schools that are online came to our meeting because we were the ones meeting consistently. You know, no fault of Belknap, but at one point you weren't meeting on a regular basis, nor was the Ruskindale Road meeting group meeting on a regular basis. So we opened our doors. We were always open to the community. And again, as technology improves, we can broaden our outreach. But we worked with those communities when we needed to have our zip code changed. So we came together So we've always been open to the community at large. And so I take issue with us not being open and transparent. And so that's what I would like to say. Burger King was not our first choice. We worked with the developer with a long list of restaurants that we would have hoped to have come to the spot. And, you know, there was a time when the economic of the country was poor. And so the residents who are on this call, you know that there was a long time when there was nothing going on in that development. And once Price Right came, we couldn't get anything off the ground because there was an economic turn down. And so when the developer, Todd, approached us, you know, when things were starting to build up, he said we needed to get something going. And so he asked if we would allow Burger King to come in. And once they signed on, the Goodwill came on board, the Boston, the Physical Fitness came on board, Dollar Tree. And so we've been trying to work on behalf of the community. And so again, because now technology is allowing us to have this greater, broader outreach, you know, more people are being engaged, but we've always reached out to those neighbors who are within the area. And so that's all I have to say.
I'm sorry, Barbara, you cut out for a minute there. You said that Todd had engaged you specifically about the Burger King, and what happened?
Well, the reason why when the economics of the country were coming back up, he reached out to see if we would allow a Burger King to come in. Because once we got a company like Burger King, companies follow each other. And so a nationally known company like Burger King would have prompted some other development. And it did. It prompted the Goodwill to come in. It prompted the physical therapy to come in. And so, you know, that's where we stand. That's where.
So are you you're in support, Barbara?
We are in support of the Burger King. Yes, we are.
Okay, and you represent.
All, I would just like to say that prior to the schools coming on board, we had already agreed to Burger King. So, and it's the schools.
And you're with. I'm sorry, and do you represent a particular, I just have you down as Barbara Gibbs. Okay,
Barbara Hamilton, East River Street
Hamilton.
Neighborhood Association Coordinator, President, whatever. Yes, East River Street Neighborhood. Okay, so again, prior to the schools coming on board in the community, we had already agreed to Burger King. And so, you know, the schools were able to build a little bit quicker than Burger King was able to, but that was already in the works.
Okay.
Thank you.
So your association was aware of this. Okay. And supported it. All right. Go ahead, Leslie. Thank you.
Calling Pat Odom. Is Pat present?
She's trying to speak, but she's muted. Pat, we can't hear you.
Hello.
Oh, hi,
Can you
Pat.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Patricia Odom, if you can hear me. I have been a resident of Hyde Park since 1978.
Yes.
I have watched this neighborhood really changed over completely. Some was positive, some was negative. But needless to say, I am on the board of the East River with Barbara Hamilton. I am one of the ones that helped very instrumental in changing our neighborhood from Mattapan back to Hyde Park, because my deeds reflect Hyde Park. So therefore that was it went through with no problem. As a result, being on the board with East River, Todd did come in and speak to us, and this was a few years ago, long before the school was erected. And, you know, we did kind of like scatter around to try to figure out what would be a perfect fit in our community. And he did reach out to various places, and unfortunately, well, put it this way, Burger King was the one that was saying they would come in. And so Todd tended to bring in people from Burger King, because somehow it's going to be a special Burger King, look different than any other Burger King that has ever come to the community, being in this area. And he agreed that once it opened, it would only, in other words, he was going to monitor it very closely, make sure that, you know, we won't have the wrong kind of traffic coming through. The food would be much healthier and so forth, and even hire people from the community. And we thought, you know, after listening and carrying on, we tend to think that was a great idea. But needless to say, apparently he got the approval to build it, and we thought that would really bring a flavor to our neighborhood, whereas a lot of Caribbean restaurants in our community. And therefore, this too would reflect, you know, we have a diverse community. And being from the Boston Public School, I am a retired Boston Public School teacher. I have witnessed restaurants being around schools where you would tell students not to go. But again, once, you know, the kids leave school, yes, they do patronize places. And if you reflect back, being a kid, I remember my parents used to tell me, I don't want you going to the corner store, eat candy, this, that, and the other. And when they weren't watching, yes, I was there. But again, I said that to say home training, you have to teach your kids what's right from wrong. You can't monitor everything they do. And not only that, bringing Burger King to the community. I noticed there are a lot of workers in our community, such as people that's working on the street, construction workers, and it would be a great idea that they would have a place to go to. And I'm just surprised that people waited till Burger King was totally erected, ready to open. All of a sudden, we get the drawback that people saying, oh, we didn't know there was a Burger King. My concern is if you're living in the community and you notice someone is building, I too would have been the first one out there asking, what are you building? But again, we did approve at the East River meeting. It wasn't just Barbara and I, it was a whole group of people approved, all the people that come to our meeting. And then I learned later on that Belknap was aware about the Burger King. But again, I've heard that they're claiming they weren't aware. So we have talked about Burger King for many years. And again, I approve for Burger King to come in here. And I think it will bring a great flavor to our community. And again, I watched Price Right come through, the dental place, whole bunch of areas have come through, including the schools. So yes, I agree there should be a Burger King. We have everything else going around here, why not?
Thank you, Patricia.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening. Thank you all for listening.
Thank you. Calling Jovan Lassette.
If you're on, I think you're on mute.
Yes, good morning, board. Thank you for having me on here. My name is Jovan Lassette. In full disclosure, I am a candidate for the 12th Suffolk State Representative election, which is taking place September 1st. Let me just read a quick statement I just put together. In light of the health disparities and inequities that COVID-19 has shed light on, issues that the community we already knew about for years, been preaching about it, but hasn't been heard. But now it's been confirmed by the result of COVID-19. We ask that the initial thing to be done is to suspend the license. Is to suspend this license hearing regarding the Burger King. COVID-19 requires that business practices change. We can no longer afford to have business as usual. In so many fields, we are not having business as usual. Under that principle, we ask that, again, under that principle, we ask that you suspend the issuance of the license and start the entire process over regarding the opening of the Burger King at that River Street location. Social justice requires for us to stop the opening of this Burger King. And I'm just gonna be blunt. The owner of the Burger King will lose more in the long run if the community decides to boycott this establishment with the help of many progressive entities. There are so many people who are against, folks who are more powerful than us, Black and brown people, who do not get the respect that we deserve. There are other folks out there who will back us, and they'll back us with money. So I think we need to go back at the table with the owner of the plaza, with the owner of this Burger King, and work things out. We want something else there. We do not want that Burger King. It's not gonna open. If we do what we need to do, it's not going to open. If it opens, it's gonna close very fast. Lastly, let me tell you something. As someone who's been knocking on doors to obtain signatures for my candidacy for the September 1st 12th Suffolk State Representative election in the area of Hyde Park, where I frequent, where I have family who lives in that area, you know, around that Burger King, I can tell you, I had obtained my signatures way in advance, and let me stick to my statement. Like I said, as someone who knocked on doors to obtain signatures for my candidacy for the September 1st 12th Suffolk State Representative election in the area before we closed down as a result of COVID-19, I can tell you that the majority sentiment in Hyde Park in the surrounding area is that the residents do not want the Burger King. They do not want it. Many of the residents I spoke to while I was obtaining signatures complained to me that they didn't even know a Burger King was going to open up there. They didn't even know until that emblem, that Burger King emblem went up in that building. They did not know it was going to be a Burger King. Like many people said today, we don't want it, we don't need it. So to the owner of the plaza, to the owner of the Burger King, to the developer who helped them, and to these politicians who's on the line. First of all, it's sad that we don't even have more politicians on this line today who represent this district. They are the liaison person on the line. We need the politicians on the line. But you know what? Things are going to change. We have to change things. And if this owner of the plaza, as well as the owner of the business and the developers do not listen, you will hear us loud and clear now if you don't hear us now. Thank you very much, board, for listening. And I pray, especially with COVID-19, that you guys take this more serious and you'll start this whole process again. And knowing that what's the result, what the community want, just cancel everything. Just cancel it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Calling Michelle. If Michelle is present, could you please
Thank you. You hear me?
Hi, Michelle.
Hi, good morning. My name is Michelle Piopimon. I'm working with City Council with Aldo Arroyo's office. And I'm a neighbor. I live on Hyde Park since 1995. I never heard about the Burger King until when I passed by. I was so curious and I said, what are they going to build here? And I went to the site and I asked one of the workers what they're going to build. And they told me that's Burger King. And I was surprised why is a Burger King? Because they have a Burger King in Mattapan, they have a Burger King who wasn't there. Why we need it? And also they have a school, like 800 kids. They have high school. They have other school. But for me, it's not really good idea to put a Burger King. I oppose this development, social inequities. I never notified about it. But why? We don't need it. We need our voice be heard. That's what we need. We don't know. We don't want it. We don't want it. Here we are. I oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you. And I am calling Vivian Morris. Is Vivian Morris?
There she is. Oh,
Hello?
that was her.
Hi, my name is Vivian Morris. I live at 39 Monpont Street, Hyde Park, which is about 6 blocks from the shops at Riverwood, where the Burger King wishes to open. I'm a registered dietitian and a public health professional who's devoted my career to improving the health of local and underserved residents, with an emphasis on access to affordable, healthy foods and opportunities for active living. I'm the founder of the Mattapan Food and Fitness Coalition and chairperson of the Edgewater Neighborhood Association, which is also located near the proposed Burger King. Also, I'm a founder of the Boston Organization of Nutritionists and Dietitians of Color, whose meetings have been allowed by Fennard Properties to take place in their community room at the shops at Riverwood. As one of several community leaders, I met with the owners of the shops at Riverwood at that site in August, a little over 2 years ago. And I shared, and everyone there, most of the people there, I would say, shared a desire that additional businesses brought to the shopping plaza should be ones that improve the health and well-being of local residents. We talked about the need for sit-down residents that serve healthy food. And I'm very surprised today to hear now in this meeting that at that date, plans were already in process for the Burger King. And we were not told that at that time. We thought we were telling them what we wanted them to hear about the need for healthy food before decisions had been made. So I was therefore totally surprised when I learned that the business that was near completion of construction on their property, again, we met the year before that, and then last summer, seeing that construction being a Burger King. Neither either of the two organizations that I can say I represent, or any other organizations in Mattapan that I'm connected with, were given any prior notice that a Burger King was to go on that site. As a local resident who raised my 2 sons in the immediate vicinity of the shops at Riverwood, my sons attended elementary school at the Chittick School, which is located only a few blocks away. And as a community advocate and as a public health professional, I oppose the Burger King. We know that foods made accessible to children impact their long-term eating habits, and that having largely unhealthy foods available to children and teens leads to many health conditions like obesity and type 2 diabetes. In fact, not only late in life, but in childhood as well. We strongly need the support of the city and local businesses to help us improve the health of low-income residents and residents of color. My community that abuts the shops at Riverwood is largely low income and predominantly people of color. I don't have data for Hyde Park, but the area of Hyde Park near the shops at Riverwood is also predominantly people of color. Mattapan is 90% people of African and Latino descent. Income levels are lower than the norm for the city of Boston. Our health issues related to poor food intake are at the highest levels of all Boston neighborhoods. In this data, 17.3% of adults have diabetes, 34.8% of adults have hypertension, 33.3% of adults are obese. This data is from the Health of Boston report from the Boston Public Health Commission in 2017 and shows that our community has the highest levels for each of those health conditions. These health data are related to the earlier deaths of people of color than their white counterparts during normal times, and even higher rates of death during times of viral crisis like we are experiencing now. But these horrible health impacts can be improved. They can in part be improved by assuring that our communities are supported by local government in our efforts to improve the types of food that dominate our communities. Replacing fast food that is largely high in unhealthy fats and calories with access to healthy restaurants, grocery stores, farmers markets, community gardens, and other sources of healthy foods. Please hear the community's request to help us create a healthier environment and deny licensing to the Burger King on River Street at the shops at Riverwood. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And calling Barbara A. Gibbs. Looking to see you.
Good morning. I'm Barbara Gibbs, resident. I live at 26 Taunton Avenue. I've been a resident here for 43 years. I'm a registered nurse. I am the founder of the Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, Hyde Park Dialysis Patient Support Group. Most of my nursing background is, working as a dialysis nurse. And to just piggyback on what the previous caller just said about our health condition in the community, knowing that renal failure is the #1, diabetes and hypertension are the #2 cause of kidney failure. And as you know, the majority of people with kidney failure are people of color, and it's simply, most of it is related to our diets, and that's high sugar content, high salt content, fast food. So I'm definitely opposed to the opening of the Burger King, and I'm opposed to it because of all of the other reason that has already been stated. High trafficking. Since the Riverwood Plaza opened, living here on Taunton Avenue, the traffic flow has increased tremendously from Wood Avenue, from Cummins Highway down to River Street. One way to Wood Avenue is a two-way street, and the traffic is unbelievable. That the increase in traffic leads to pollution. We have an environmental problem. I'm opposed to it because of the schools being right across the street from it. And as we know, when kids get out of school, they're going to go over there to have their lunch. And someone mentioned it earlier, what you're going to have is overcrowding of the Burger King, and kids are going, the police is going to be called because they're going to say the kids are being disorderly. They have a problem right now in the little convenience store that's there across from the bank, and this is a bad idea. Our community, people in our community, and the stores and everything that's being put up over there, some of it is okay, but again, we all know that Black people are looked at as commodity, and when these businesses come into our community, that's what they do. They look at the population and the amount of money that they can make off of Black people in the community. So I'm definitely opposed to it.
Thank you. Okay.
Is due to the health concern of our community and our young people. Hopefully,
thank you.
We can put a stop to this, and I strongly recommend that whomever is on listening, take this back to your city councilor. And
thank you very much, Barbara. We're going to move on to the next person.
Okay, thank you.
And we would ask that if anyone who is going to speak, as we wrap this up, if you're simply going to echo comments of others, please just state that, and then we will reflect that for the record. Calling Kirby Robertson. Is there a Kirby Robertson who, let me unmute. Kirby, can you hear us? Kirby? Kirby, we can hear you now. Okay.
Are you there, Kirby?
All right, Kirby. I think we will reflect that Kirby did wish to speak? And then moving on, is there anyone else who wishes to testify who has not previously testified? And again, we ask that if you're echoing the comments that have previously been made, either in support or opposition, please simply state that. I will note for the record that we have a message from Cecily Graham, who's echoing her support for the deferral of the project at this time. And we have a note from Marcia Kim, who is again echoing the comments of others seeking to defer this. And we have a request from Stephanie Everett to speak. And after this, we will be moving on. Again, the record will be kept open until the board's vote tomorrow at 10 a.m. So you can certainly continue to submit any correspondence in writing. Should you have additional comments to make, and again, that is not given any additional weight.
Good afternoon. I'm Janine Mohammed. I'm a resident of Hyde Park for 20 years past, raised my 7 children in the area. I just wanted to speak that I've been involved with some of the previous meetings with Bernard and the properties there. And I recall that at some of the meetings, we had talked about him trying to find other businesses to come in the area. And there was quite a few that we've asked, that I was aware of, and that he got no response. I don't know what happened in the interim, and now I see the Burger King, but I feel that I am not opposed to it because right now, as a developer, I know this land has been left unused, and he needs to put a business in there. Not that I am a great fond person of Burger King, but that I feel that it is a food. They have plant-based food sandwiches now that they can use that could be healthy. And, I don't feel that it would be totally, a poor thing for the community. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, Janine, for sticking with us and sharing your opinion.
Thank you. And I believe the last individual who's requested to speak is Stephanie Everett. Is Stephanie present?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, thank you. So I'll be brief. I also am in agreement that the process just be deferred. I think you can hear from the conversations. I'm newly involved in this process, and what I am hearing is that there are some who are informed and some that were not informed. I live in Mattapan, to the other side of River Street, but actually frequent up and down the roads. I grew up in that neighborhood. I will say that based on what I've heard, that there is a process that was approved with a previous mayor, with a previous administration that some way, somehow did not get communicated to all members of that community. And they do have a right to have a voice and have a say. There's conversations about the plant-based food, which I agree about, but maybe talking about what we can do for community supports. This just seems to be more work and communication to support a project or not support a project. And without full information, I don't know how the licensing board would actually grant anything further. It just seems there's too many questions outstanding. So again, my comments are just brief. I am in agreement that we should defer this process so that you can allow for more the developer to have communications with the now known neighborhood associations, whether they knew about them before or not. They do know about them now, and I think it's time that they have that conversation. Thank you.
Okay. Is that everyone who, other than Mr. Fernard, who I know wants to respond, is that everyone who wishes to testify?
No.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record.
My name is Mr. Owens, H.M. Owens, and I'm absolutely in opposition to this proposed food site. We have heard from previous speakers about the long list of health impacts for minority communities, and we know that those are real and painful for us. And for us to be considering this as an economic issue, when the real truth is that we have some very serious health impacts. And I don't need to repeat them, but clearly diabetes, obesity, cardiovascular disease, as well as hypertension, we're suffering greatly from those. And I would strongly request that the proposal be denied and be returned to the community for our input, because obviously things were done in a way that did not reflect the community's input.
Okay.
And I will stop from there. We're just saying I'm absolutely in opposition to that.
Thank
I live at number 20 Seminole Street in Hyde Park, and I'm absolutely against this proposal.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Owens.
Thank you.
Kirby Robertson appears to now be again asking you to speak. Kirby, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody, and thank you for giving me the opportunity. As I mentioned, I'm a local lawyer practicing in Hyde Park for 20 years. My first home was Hyde Park, although I've moved all over Boston, but Hyde Park still is home. As a lawyer, a public defender, I have represented a lot of kids in the court based on just simple being on the premises of Burger King, and they created records for life for them. Now, that's not the actual purpose of my call. The purpose of my call is to say that in the name of environmental justice, we need to stop this and deny this application. I don't understand the deferral and postponement of this application, because right now we are living in a different era. It is not the time to be thinking about much more than what we have. Everybody's talking about health disparity. This is the key to this application. The COVID-19 has told us that everything that we knew has been laid bare to us, that one of the comorbidities that has been the basis for the Black and brown carnage is that it's overweight and fast food. We do not have the ability to provide fresh food for this community. It's about time that we stop. And
sorry, I can't hear him anymore. A little interference there.
Yes, hello?
Okay, go ahead, I can hear you now.
Yes, thank you. It's about time that we stop and think and act on the statements that we make on a daily basis, saying that Black and brown people are being killed by the thousands because of comorbidities that they suffer as a result of deprivation of good food.
Okay.
Now, thank you. I ask that this application be denied forthwith. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Fernard, I have a couple of questions for you as the developer, and then I'll let you respond.
Sure.
So some of the testimony has been that some of the people have testified that there's been there's been other fast food restaurants in this area. And it looks like there's a McDonald's 1.2 miles away and a Subway 1.1 miles away. Do you know of any other fast food restaurants in closer proximity to this Burger King location?
Is Papa Gino's considered fast food?
I think it would be. You know, one of the standards we
sorry, go ahead.
One of the standards we look at is what you're offering compared to what else is offered in this general location. And I'm not convinced part of the city at 1.2 miles is close. So how close is the Papa Gino's?
I believe that the Papa Gino's in Logan Square / Cleary Square is also about a mile away, maybe a little bit more. Just in answering your question, the reason that I bought the Bay State Paper Mill in 2006-07 was because there is such a lack of retail in this part of the city. It's just there aren't enough restaurants, there weren't enough supermarkets. The whole goal of this development was to take a dilapidated paper mill and build a shopping center because there's nothing in that immediate vicinity. So just to answer your question.
Thank you, because the board does take into consideration public support and opposition. I should note that we have received some written support for this as well. And I do take seriously the public opposition and the process, but we also look towards public need, and public need is defined as this type of license in this area. And I just want to make that clear, because with this virtual, this ability to meet virtually, I'm happy that the people that have been able to join us have been able to, but I should note that we've received notification in support of it as well. And I'll turn it over to you. I know you wanted to respond to some of the comments.
Yeah, just, and I'll be brief. I know you've got an agenda to follow. Look, as I said to you before, my company bought the Bay State Paper Mill, and I was very active with Mayor Menino at the time, Rob Consalvo and his staff, in trying to conceive of a shopping center, an urban set shopping center with a suburban style. And we brought Price Right in because, candidly, the supermarkets were inadequate when we built it. Subsequent to that happening, Stop and Shop and Shaw's both actually improved their stores, and I'm happy about that. What's offered at Price Right is fruits and vegetables and affordable groceries, and I think it's been a real positive for the neighborhood. And we did talk to all of these various groups about the fact that we wanted aspirationally to have cafes and bookshops and outdoor seating and all of these things. And as the point was made earlier, I talked to every conceivable restaurant operator I could find, from the mundane and the ridiculous, the 99, the Bertucci's at the time, to the aspirational, to the Buffalo Wild Wings, to the sit-down restaurant, to the IHOP, to all these various groups. I have made every effort to try and bring sit-down quality restaurants to the city, and I'm going to continue to try to do that. And actually, the activity happening around the Shops at Riverwood and all of the sort of the various energy in the open stores will help me to find those restaurants. I say all of this because, candidly speaking, and this is a suitability hearing I get for Zoe as an operator. It has become sort of a permitting or a zoning rehashing. And the primary point that I want to make to the board and to the city and to everyone who's sort of participating is, we followed the exact protocol set by the city of Boston. We talked to the neighborhood, we went through the process, we sought our approvals, and I apparently I should have asked for greater I don't know if I could have asked for greater representation from neighborhood groups. When I was assigned to the East River Street group, they are my liaison to the neighborhood. They are the ones that I go through. I've attended however many meetings with them, and for the last 13 years, I think I've worked really well with that neighborhood group and met a great deal of the sort of the community through the East River Street group. If there's a problem with that process, which is to say, if there's a problem with the developer dealing with one neighborhood group instead of 3 or 5, that's a totally different matter. And I'm happy to have that conversation down the road. But that is, I just want to make the closing point that we've done everything we can to improve River Street, to develop this and to follow the process. And that's what brings us here. And I believe that Zoe Dahani is a very suitable operator to run this restaurant.
Okay, I did get a question specifically asked to me on the group chat, and this is going to be it. I don't generally, we don't go back and forth all morning, but the question was to elaborate on the public need, and it's one of many factors we consider. And I feel the need to explain that because there's a lot of people that showed up today to oppose it compared to the people that supported it. And I'm not sure if that's because of the virtual aspect of our hearing. It's the type of establishments that exist in the immediate proximity that help us determine public need. So that's why I asked if there were if there were some other fast food restaurants in the proximity. And I'm sure the other commissioners as well will do their own looking into this as well. It's just something I had a map up and I wanted to see if there was anything missing that I didn't see.
So if there is no additional testimony, the board will take all of this under advisement as well as all of the written correspondence, and we'll make a determination on next steps tomorrow. Thank you all for taking the time to participate. We greatly appreciate it. And we're now going to move on with the agenda to the subsequent items. Calling Big House Fine Dining LLC, doing business as Scampo and Alibi, located at 215 Charles Street. Holder of a common vitular 7-day all alcoholic beverages license has petitioned to amend the description of the licensed business from in 4 rooms, restaurant, bar, kitchen, and storage area on the first floor, and to include 2 outer seasonal seating areas between May and September. Capacity breakdown, Alibi inside 185, 83 seated, 102 standing. Alibi outside 160, Scampo inside 267, 153 seated, 54 standing, Scampo outside 60, amending 2 in 4 rooms for a restaurant, bar, kitchen, and storage area on the first floor, and to include 2 outdoor annual seating areas on private property. Capacity breakdown, Alibi inside 185, 83 seated, 102 standing. Alibi outside 160, Scampo inside 267, 153 seated, 54 standing, Scampo outside 60. Attorney Dennis Quilty.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Good morning. Yeah, Dennis Quilty representing the applicant. I think with us is Ryan Jones and Katina Koropines. And this is an application simply to request annual versus seasonal patio use. I think the board has had a lot of these applications in the recent past. I think much more to do with the ability of places or the desire of places to open up on a warm day or evening in, beyond the seasonal months of the year. And the board, I think, made it clear that if people apply for this, the way to be able to operate as desired outside would be an application of this nature. And there we are with the applicant, Ms. Koropines and Mr. Jones attended a meeting of the West End Civic Association, and the Civic Association did not oppose. And I don't think there's any, I'm unaware of any opposition. I did receive an email from Councilor Flynn, which I responded to, giving him that information. I did not hear back as to what their position would be today. I don't know whether they're represented, but we did go to a meeting of the West End Civic, and there was a non-opposition of this application. And they've had no issues. It's operates within the confines or just beside the Liberty Hotel. Very well run premise, very few issues over the years. So hopefully the board will see it fit to extend it so we can use it various times of the year.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Quilty. I just have one question. Are there any changes to operations?
No, the only request is the use of the patio annually rather than simply seasonally.
Okay, thank you.
And is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of this application?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Shanice Pimentel representing the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We have no questions and concerns and would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Madam of the Chair, members of the board, Ana Calderon from Councilor Flink's office. The councilor would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Thank you.
And is there anyone who would like to testify in opposition to this application? The board will take this under advisement and vote on this tomorrow.
Thank you.
Calling Nicholas Men's Sound LLC, doing business as Tavern of Tales, located at 1478 to 1484 Tremont Street. Holder of a restricted common vitular 7-day wine and malt with liqueurs license has petitioned to amend the description of the licensed business from in 8 rooms on ground floor with kitchen and bar and office and storage, 2,798 square feet, to 8 rooms on ground floor with kitchen and bar and office and storage, 2,798 square feet, seasonal outdoor patio, April through November on private property with seating for 24 patrons. Attorney Dennis Quilty.
Good morning again. I think Mr. Chen is with us as well. I saw him pop up earlier. applicant? Well, if not, this is a matter that's taken some time to come to this point. I think the board approved the actual license here. That must be 16 or 18 months ago. And at the time, we did go through the community review process with various Mission Hill organizations, including the Neighborhood Alliance. And at their vote on this application, they voted to approve this with the patio. I think it was 21-0. For some reason, the patio never made it onto the original application, and we will use it later before they open up. Hopefully, at some point, this grants us offer to add the outdoor space.
Thank you, Attorney Quilty. What are the hours? What's the closing hour for the patio?
I have Nicholas. I'm sorry. I literally only have the letter that we filed.
Okay.
With it. I don't have the file for it. I apologize.
I believe.
Hi, this is Nicholas Chen. I'm the owner of Tavern Tales. Yes, our closing hours on the weekdays are until 10 p.m. We would close the patio off at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays to Thursdays and Sunday. On Friday and Saturday, we're open until 1 a.m., but we would close the patio off at midnight.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak in support of this application?
Madam Chair, members of the board, Shanice Pimentel representing the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services. We have no questions or concerns and would like to go on record in support. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. Henry Santana here. We would like to go on the record of support in this project. Thank you.
And I'm sorry, Mr. Santana, you cut out. It could have just been me. You cut out saying who you were speaking on behalf of.
Yep, Henry Santana on behalf of Councilor Kenzie Bogg, District 8.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Jessica Rodriguez from Councilor at Large Anissa Saibi George's office, and she would also like to go on record in support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to this application? And no one has indicated they wish to speak, and the board will take this matter under advisement. And that is the final matter on our agenda for today. We appreciate everyone participating in the virtual hearing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leslie.